is Lisa. Today I have a story to tell on my scrapbook page about a storybook. This is for a load prompt about reading and your family. And I have a book here that belonged, I believe, to one of my mother's sisters. I know it was one of them. I don't think it was my mother. I think it was one of her sisters. That's what I was always told. And it was her reader when she was in school, probably based on the dates when she was 8 or 9 years old. And I just loved reading this book when I was a little girl and visiting my grandparents. And it's all about these children that go and stay with family members, and lots of different things that happen to them as they're growing up. And I just loved the book called Happy Days. So I still have it. And for the load prompts, what I did was take some pictures of the book. I have it laying on one of my grandmother's quilts. And I have it open to one of my favorite sections called the rainy day box, where the children are staying with their family members and it's raining, and their aunt pulls out this box with all these trinkets in there that they can play with, and old-fashioned kinds, you know, when you used to play with buttons and all kinds of little things. You didn't really have toys, because this was written, I think the date on the inside of the book is 1936. So we're at the height of the Depression, and that just, I think it's just a wonderful little book, and it's a special part of my childhood. I read it when I was at my grandparents' house, so I have a photograph of their house. I don't have, you know, a lot of pictures of me at that age, so I don't have any I have one picture of me inside my grandparents' house and sitting in the kitchen, and I usually was in the living room when I would play by myself and read this book and stuff, and I don't have any photographs of that. So I'm using the pictures of the book. I wrote my own ebook last year called No Photo, No Problem, for just this sort of instance where you don't have a photograph of exactly what you want to scrap, with lots of different ideas and even pages that don't have photographs on them at all. So if you're interested in that, there's a link in the description for this video. Now, I do have a sketch for this, a new sketch, with 2 4x6 photos and this one small photo that's about 2 1/4 inches by 4 inches wide, and we're going to put a fair amount of journaling in here and then some embellishments. I thought we'd use some buttons because it's mentioned in the book, especially in that rainy day box part about buttons, so we're going to use some of those. I also found some embellishments that I haven't used that I thought matched really well. And for pattern paper, I love this little plaid from My Mind's Eye. I have very little of it left. I thought it would be fun behind the title. And then this larger piece of yellow is a wonderful, just a perfect match almost for the book, but I don't have a full sheet of it. So we're going to do a second paper up here at the top and probably a border sticker. And that made me pull out the October Afternoon Public Library stuff because I knew I had the border stickers. So let's see, I don't have this in 12 by 12. If I did, we would use probably papers like these because they're really the right kind of design for the time. I don't know if there's anything in here that I want to work in or not. I'm not seeing anything automatically. There are all these cute little pictures. There's a child reading, and I've cut one of these out already. I might be able to work some of those in. So that's a possibility. And then I have a few other stickers that I got out here because of needing some lettering. So I'm going to trim this paper down and we'll start laying out our page. So I'm just going to piece these 2 pages together. Sometimes I use a full sheet in the back if I'm piecing 2 pieces together, something that I'm not ever going to use for anything else, or a piece of cardstock. But in this case, I had so much of that green that I thought I could match them up there and use my grid paper to line things up. Now, I think one of the things that really makes this page one of my favorite elements of the page is the border that I'm going to put up at the top that we'll get to in just a moment. Kind of laying out some of the pieces and getting an idea of where things are going to go and narrowing down that chipboard. I really like the little flowers because I thought they went well with the flowers that are on the book. And here is the border sticker that I wanted to use. I looked at a few of them, but the red rickrack is really good for the time period and for just the memory that I'm trying to capture. But I had part of the end of it bent, so I just trimmed it down, and we'll end up covering up some of that open area with a photo. And I really like how those papers came together with the red rickrack there. So it looks like I did it on purpose instead of having to, because I didn't have enough background paper. Cutting up some of these October afternoon designs that were in the 8x8 paper. When I was writing up the journaling for this, one of the things that really came out in the story of the books for me was about being at my grandparents' and some of the things that we did. And if you're interested in the journaling, it is in its entirety over on my blog post that goes with this, and it talks about my grandfather and I going to pick up to get fresh milk and eggs at local farms, and it was a lot like the stories in the book. So it was just some sweet memories. Working out the title here, I felt like I needed to use a fair amount of red as an accent. And so I'm going to, since the book says the title is Happy Days, I held it up there a minute ago, I decided to make my title My Happy Days. And there happens to be a Happy Day sticker on this sheet, but it's not large enough. So we're going to do Happy in the red, and then Days. I didn't have an S anywhere except in the really small letters at the bottom. So I'll get those punched out there and then glued in place. I'm really not much of a letter sticker person. I love my thickers, but I tend to forget that I have the stickers, regular stickers, and these were some that came with one of the Simple Stories lines, I believe. And there's Days, and I won't do this on camera, but I'll pull all of those out. And I've glued some things down, but Days is not going to show up down there unless I put something under it. And I was already thinking about putting some washi tape up at the top to have a place for those chipboard pieces to rest. Before I glue anything more down, I want to do a little bit of distressing with antique linen distress ink. My journaling I printed on ledger paper, and a lot of times I try to make the text line up on the ledger paper, but in this case I had a lot of text, and so the ledger paper was a really faint design, so I didn't bother with that. I just printed it. Now this particular washi tape I think would make a good background, but I know from experience that once you stick it down it's stuck, so I need to be sure. I guess I could, you know, like push it, rub it on my clothes or something so it wouldn't have so much sticky on it, but I didn't think about that at the time. Now I'm going to put Days on top of some yellow washi, and they show up pretty well that way. I also have this red washi. I felt like I needed a little bit more red accent up there at the top, and I really like it. I just need something to ground it. So we're going to use this really wide tape. I do not remember. I want to say this is Freckled Fawn, but I'm not sure. I bought this from 2 Piece in a Bucket probably a year and a half ago. So, and I've long since stopped worrying about where washi tape came from and trying to keep up with it. I think so many of these things get discontinued and changed and so many similar things, you know, you can buy Chevron washi tapes, you know, just about anywhere, so it's not that important, the particular brand. At least I hope not. Alright, and then we have buttons here. I have gobs of buttons. I picked out a few individual ones out of my button drawers by color, but I have these pretty Stampin' Up ones. The thing is, I liked the other ones better because they were a little more old-fashioned looking. They more like dress buttons. The Stampin' Up buttons are pretty, but they're just a little too fancy for this layout. And I considered that I might need a little bit more stuff around there or arrange the buttons a little bit differently, and I didn't end up doing that. I just ended up putting them in a row. And the way I did the buttons is take some green thread. I just used the same color thread for all 3 of them, and I ran it through the holes and tied it off on the back and then just glued it on. Sometimes I sew my buttons directly to the layout, but I was a little bit of a time crunch here, and then I just used some glue dots to attach these. Some of the larger glue dots. So for our page, I put in the 3 buttons, and I did add one more button up here. Show you some close-ups. Use these little pieces from October Afternoon's Public Library, just cut out of some of the paper in the 8x8 paper pad. And I did add one more piece of chipboard. These were from, I think they're from Homespun Simple Stories. It was a collection last year. And I did consider using some more stickers, but I kind of like the simplicity of the page. I mean, I could add, well, let's see. Let's just see how they look. Let's try love and happy. Those were two I kind of liked. So, let's put love. I put glue on this, but I don't think it's quite dry yet. Love and happy. Not like happy there. There we go. Okay, so that just adds a little bit of an extra. Anyway, we have the sketch with the two photos, and I didn't do a flower embellishment. I just did sort of groupings in both places there, so added a little bit of extra to the sketch. You can find the sketch over on my blog. You can also find information about the No Photo, No Problem ebook or the 2014 sketchbook. I had one for 2013 that had all the sketches and links to the videos that had been published on YouTube, and I have the 2014 one available as well. So you get the sketches in this size when you print them out, plus a lot of extra detail, and some indexes to help you find the sketch that you need for your particular project. Thanks so much, and I hope you have a great day.